the Saturday morning, everybody. Welcome to this baby we call The Sweat, a show we bring you every Saturday and Sunday morning right here on DK Network and VSiN. I am your host, Emerson Latzia, sitting next to two of my best friends, Steve Buchanan, Julian Edlow. The boys are back, and the boys are buzzing this morning. How we feeling? Look at everyone in their Saturday blue.
We are all wearing blue.
Yeah, we should coordinate a little bit better.
I like when we match. I also like what's coming up in this show, gentlemen. Here we go, a little Preakness preview. Yeah, second Jewel.
Are we doing the horse races again?
Yeah, we are.
Drew,
Yeah.
Drew's psyched.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. The last segment of this show is once again going to be the best segment of this show. We got Mike Somich. Dude knows so much about horse racing. We're bringing him on to help us lead the way, guide us through all the bets on DK Horse. Roaring Thunder, question mark. Got a game 6 in Dallas tonight. Joel's excited to see what you have to say ahead of that. And then a major story. Anything going on at the PGA? I don't know. Maybe the world #1 golfer being arrested.
Can I just say
It.
that this is why social media was made for just the reaction. Like, people are so fast. Did you see, like, the people had shirts of his mugshot?
I've seen it all. Yeah.
Like,
2 hours
at the
later.
course within
Great.
hours.
Yep.
Like,
And there's
if there's anything that's good that comes out of social media, it's that.
There is a hilarious picture of him walking off the last green yesterday as well. And the two dudes who have the picture of Scotty on their shirt are reaching out for a high five, and he's high-fiving them as he walks by. It was
Him
incredible.
high-fiving the people wearing his shirts will probably be a new shirt today.
Yeah, it is going to be absolutely epic. Storylines galore out there. So we will talk to Jeff Ulrich about what's cooking at the PGA there in Louisville coming up. But right now, let's work up a sweat, shall we, gentlemen? Same way we start this show every Saturday and Sunday morning here. Jules, I'm going to let you bat lead off. Let's go, kid. What do you got?
I'm going to go to the WNBA, which tipped off on Tuesday night. I know last weekend on the show we talked about it a little bit with Glasheen. But I think it's been a pretty good start. It's been an interesting start. Obviously, the Caitlin Clark hype was...
Yeah, she's a bust. A lot of people saying she's a bust.
So there we go. The Caitlin Clark hype was a big deal this week. She's played 2 games against 2 really good teams. Hasn't gone well for her. She gets another crack, again, at a really good team against the Liberty, who she did awful against the other night. Now she's going to be going on the road to New York. Point props trickling down a little bit. It was 20.5 every game, or it opened 21.5 and came down some. It's 19.5 today. So maybe still some value on Clark unders because she is taking some time to adjust, at least against really good teams.
They're all shutting her down, dude. They're like double her at times, and she's going to take time to adjust.
I think that besides the adjustment period, I think that professional teams are taking it that they don't want to get shown up by somebody that's coming in and already being crowned as the face of the league or whatever.
And Diana Taurasi, like weeks ago, trash talking and just saying, hey, when you come to the WNBA, just a heads up, these are grown-ass women. This isn't college anymore, and we're going to focus on you and shut you down and break you. And so far, that's really been the case.
It has been the case. So, that's a direction that I'm leaning in again. Might go with the Caitlin Clark under today. I know not as many people find that fun, but it has been a profitable bet in the early going. But a lot of these other games, like A'ja Wilson was awesome for the Aces in their opener. She's a 2-time MVP. She probably got snubbed for MVP last year.
Yeah.
So she's come out against some bad teams looking really good. The Aces are 19-point favorites against the Sparks today in Vegas. So if you can avoid the blowout by too much, I think A'ja Wilson props are probably a good look. So those are a couple WNBA players that I'm looking at. It's been a solid start to the season. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed that Caitlin Clark stepping onto the scene has kind of opened up more markets, like overnight WNBA player props, stuff like that. More like the NBA, which we didn't have in the past for WNBA.
I think a lot of people may be a little nervous who decided to bet the over on that team's win total right now, which was 21.5, which again, they've only won 22 games in its franchise's history just once, for crying out loud.
So the one that I'm mad that I passed on was that DraftKings hung a Caitlin Clark season average, and I think it was 21.5 points. It was either 21.5 or 21.9, minus 130 to the under. the under there was a good play, just in terms of season-long average, and I didn't get to it.
And like fans have been pretty pissed too because she's had the turnover problem, but she's getting into foul trouble a lot early in these games. And so she's going to the bench as a result of that. And fans are like, we pay money here to see Caitlin Clark, and now we're just watching her ride the bench. But there, again, is going to be an adjustment period for her. And right now, it has been a little bit of a struggle. I think she'll eventually find her way because she is that good. But we will see. Bukes, what do you got for warm-up today, man?
So one of the big stories for MLB over the week, if you may have heard or not, was just the stolen bases by Elly De La Cruz and the crazy pace that he's on right now. When he got called up last year, he ended up playing 98 games for the Reds, stole 35 bases in those 98 games. He has played 45 games so far this season, already has 30 stolen bases on the year. Had 4 the other night against the Dodgers, almost 5. He got caught stealing on the 5th attempt. And the Dodgers are not an easy team to steal a base against. Will Smith has been one of the best defensive catchers when it comes to attempted stolen bases and getting those hitters out. So on DraftKings Sportsbook, they have this bet up currently for Elly De La Cruz to go over 99.5 stolen bases, to go over, it's at plus 350. Just to let you know, and make you aware of some of the company that he's in already. Nobody has has 100 stolen bases since Vince Coleman back in 1987, which is, I was 1 year old at that time. Yeah. Only 6 players in MLB history have at least 30 stolen bases in the first 44 games. Ricky Henderson did that 3 times, by the way. But currently, he's on pace for 110 stolen bases. But that's if, obviously, he plays every single game. So he needs to, play the full 162. Right. But the thing about Cruz is that when he steals, he's stealing at multiple instances. He already has 8 games on the season where he has at least 2 stolen bases. And that's kind of why I like this prop here, because Elly's one of those guys that will go and try to steal third base. You see guys like, Ronald Acuna go and they steal second, and that's kind of it. That's not the case with Elly De La Cruz. He's doing what he can to steal these bases here. He's getting on base at a really high clip. He has a 370 on base percentage on the year. That is 70 points higher than what he finished last year when he got called up. Like I said, the pace that he's on right now is just completely unheard of. Even in a day and age where stolen bases are happening at so much more right now. But with the speed that he has, he's cutting down on the strikeouts a tad, but he's really getting on base a lot more than what we've seen in the past. I like this prop. I like him going over, to get at least 100 stolen bases. It sounds absurd when you say it out loud and say, yes, I want this player to go. I think this player is going to go over 100 stolen bases. But if there is anybody that can do it, Elly De La Cruz, one of the fastest guys in the league, 4.1 seconds from home plate to first base, obviously one of the fastest in the league.
That's speed.
I like it, man. And with the willingness of him to run, steal multiple bases in a game, I think he has the opportunity.
Henderson and Coleman, the only players to record 3 100 steal seasons in the modern era.
Yep.
What is he generally priced at? Because I don't look at many baseball props just on a daily basis to.
Oh, it's low. Like they're very it's almost like not even worth taking, because I think the other night he was at plus 120 to steal a base.
Plus 150 today against the Dodgers.
Right, and that's the team, like I mentioned. Like Will Smith is one of the best defensive catchers. So
how many steals does he have in how many?
30 in 44 games.
30 and 44
Steve's already
games.
said he's on pace for 110,
how many
105?
I'm putting you on the spot, but roughly how many multi-steal games does he have?
I just said that in the start when I said 8 multi-steal games. Yes. Yeah. He's not listening to my spiel.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm just not listening. That's usually what I do.
I'm just thinking about if I would rather just bet him on a daily basis.
Sure.
And see how that stacks up over the
Without
season.
a doubt.
Rather than trying to get that plus 350 payout at the end of the year. And if he gets hurt, misses a month, it's like, I don't get this now. But on a daily basis, he could be on a plus money prop making money.
Put it this way, I don't think that what you're saying is a bad idea at all. Obviously it's going to be profitable, but at the same time, it's like you can get this plus 350 for the year long as well.
You had some good baseball bets yesterday, right? You had a couple that hit or no?
Oh, it was
1-1 should have been 2-0.
Because I was going to say
Phillies' first 5 got there, and I asked Steve, "What's the best way to bet the Braves today?" And he said, "First 5." And I said, "I think so." I bet him first 5, and they were up 4-2 in the 5th inning.
Yeah.
And they were not leading after 5 innings.
because part one of my warm up was fade Julian on his Friday night bets. You got to do a fade Friday
been
with Julian.
two
He's not good
poor
on Fridays.
Fridays in a row.
He's pretty good overall, but he's not good on Fridays. Second one.
2 Friday sample.
Okay.
Right.
That's all I need to see.
Yep.
Paul Skeens, National League Rookie of the Year. Steve, like it's hot, maybe too hot. So had his second major league start yesterday. He allowed no hits through 6 innings and finished with 11 strikeouts. So he surpassed the 7 in his first start, which was also against the Cubs. The Cubs are like, we're tired of trying to hit the baseball against this guy. So he was finished. His day finished. He threw 100 pitches, 67 of them for strikes. So that was closer to like the Steven Strasburg type performance that many fans expected for him. So I went on yesterday to bet him for Rookie of the Year, plus 900. By the time he was pulled in the 6th, it's down to plus 500, Steve. So if you think, and you're buying his talent, and that you think he can make up like a month of baseball with this electrifying talent that he has really quickly. Is this the last time to bet him at a relatively decent number?
I mean, it really might be, but I will say the National League, the top 4 guys that are in the league for National League Rookie of the Year, all pitchers.
Yeah.
That's kind of unheard of at this point.
That makes it easier for him to make
by
up
the way,
the month, though.
Sure.
Season strikeouts up from 109.5 to 151.5.
That's
40%
insane.
increase in a week.
That's insane.
We got to take a break in 180 seconds. The sweat returns. We're heading to the hardwood where the Mavs have pushed the top-seeded Thunder to the brink. Julian's bet du jour when we come back.
Huh.
Time for a healthy edition of some NBA shoot-around. Jules, good to have you back. Happy to have you here. You hit on some WNBA for your warm-up in the first block of this show we call The Sweat. Now let's dive a little bit into the NBA. And let's start with the Pacers, forcing a Game 7 against the Knicks in dominant fashion last night, man. So New York was blown out behind 25 points from Pascal Siakam, and an all-around really outstanding effort from the rest of the group here, Jules. So 4 of Indiana's 5 starters had 15-plus points in the game. And then you had T.J. McConnell adding 15 off the bench. Jalen Brunson missed the last 11 shots of the first half. Like, that guy has to be absolutely on if the Knicks are going to advance to the conference finals. So just your reaction to last night, what went down, what went wrong for New York?
Yeah, they got off to a good start, too. I had Pacers first quarter. Knicks led at the end of the first quarter. Pacers took it the rest of the way. It's been the story in this series. Home court's been a big deal.
Yeah, I don't think Pacers have lost in whole postseason.
Whole postseason, and New York's obviously been really good at home as well. For me, this comes down to injuries. That's why the Knicks are priced so cheap. They lose OG and kind of fill that in with other guys, but what they can't afford to do, because Josh Hart's playing 48 minutes in meaningful games. Josh Hart has an abdominal injury last night, can't finish the game. With the score out of hand, they're obviously getting him ready for the Game 7. But Josh Hart has to be ready to go 48 minutes on Sunday afternoon, short turnaround. Otherwise, the Knicks are going to be in big trouble. Brunson can be as good as he wants, but if they don't have these energy bodies, they're wing defenders, the offensive rebounding that Hart contributes to get them extra possessions and get Brunson and DiVincenzo extra looks. Like, if they don't have that, they're going to be in trouble in this game. So I'm on the Knicks for the series from pre-series. I want to bet on the Knicks at this short money line price. What is it, 130, 135 right now? But I can't do anything until we get an official update on what the Knicks lineup is going to look like on Sunday afternoon. They're just too dinged up at this point. And now that it's down to one game for everything, like, they could get caught just being too thin in a game, and the Pacers steal one on the road.
Yeah, it's going to be one of 2 Game 7s tomorrow. I mean, the truth really begins with Brunson. He's got to turn in that generational performance tomorrow if the Knicks are going to advance, which they're trying to reach the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2000, while it would be Indiana's first trip since 2014.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of these teams make deep runs recently. I guess 10 years ago, you got those Paul George, Roy Hibbert, David West team that made a run. But yeah, it's been a while. You think 90s playoff basketball, you think Pacers, Knicks, and we're getting it here, and the winner's going to get to see the Celtics in the East Finals and get to play them without Porzingis for at least the first 2 games, is the report right now. I think there's a good chance we don't see Porzingis till the NBA Finals. But yeah, in terms of this Game 7, how dinged up the Knicks are really gives me a lot of pause towards betting this game. I really want to take the Knicks, but it would not stun me at all if this is the one that the Pacers grab on the road, just given how run down New York is. And the Pacers really haven't gotten dinged up at all in this series because of their depth.
Thunder can get it done against the Mavs tonight. We'll have another Game 7 on our hands. But right now, the top-seeded Thunder, backs against the wall. Game 6 tonight in Dallas. How do you expect this one to play out?
So the Mavericks aren't a daunting home team by any means. They've actually been a better bet on the road all season. Now, that said, this series has had a lot of similarities to the Clippers series, in which the Mavericks, as the lower seed, closed out the Clippers in a Game 6 at home. I think we see that repeat tonight. I do like Dallas. I trust Luka. I trust Kyrie. I like the way that that unit is gelling right now. I've said it over and over again. And on the OKC side, I trust SGA to show up. He's been fantastic all series. Who else is going to show up? He hasn't gotten much help, and now all these kids that, SGA has become a, perennial MVP candidate. Your Chet Holmgrens, your Jalen Williams, your, Isaiah Joe is now starting over Josh Giddey. These guys haven't played in these type of games and haven't been good in this series. Now you're going to go on the road in a closeout game, an elimination game. I think we see Dallas show up. And just as much so, some of the other guys for OKC not show up, and that lead to Dallas closing this one out in 6.
And you know what's interesting? It's been such a defensive battle these past 3 games, Jules, that has forced odds makers here to lower their projected total here by, I think, around like 4 points, just to compare it to Game 5 alone.
So I was an under 213 better in Game 5. I got a bad number by about a point to where it opened. And it's been adjusted, and I would still lean under here for sure. We've seen things really tighten up as the series goes on. You adjust to the other team. You're used to what they're doing. You know their plays. And then in bigger games, a game where you can close out a series, or in OKC's case, a game where you can be eliminated, you tend to slow it down a little bit. Take your time. Things tighten up. So if you look at the betting splits, sharper, bigger bettors do not care that this total is down 4 or 5 points from last game.
Yep.
38% of the bets for 67% of the handle. So about a third of the bets for 2/3 of the money is on the under. This will probably be, I haven't bet this game yet. It'll probably be some combination of the Mavericks and the under for me.
And then we've got our second Game 7 tomorrow night. It's going to be Wolves at the Nuggets. So this second round clash of Titans, Jules, has provided just about everything from an entertainment standpoint.
For sure.
I think the only thing missing has been that late game tension. Do you think we'll get one more chance of that tomorrow night in Game 7, but who do you think wins and ends up moving on?
I do think this one winds up being a good game. I don't think it comes down to a final shot. I think Denver does pull away late. So I'm going to take the Nuggets at home in Game 7. Not the hottest take in the world, but it's been a roller coaster series, to say the least. We asked before this series started, what's my bet? I said Wolves plus 1.5 games. They go up 2-0 on the road. That bet, Wolves plus 1.5 games, was minus 7,000 at that point. From minus 110 to minus 7,000. They almost didn't cover it. If they lost that game, obviously they blew out Game 6. It wasn't close. Had they lost Game 6 at home, that doesn't cover. They lose the series by 2 games after that bet moving to minus 7,000. But we cashed Wolves plus 1.5 games. The reason I didn't bet them for the series is because of this situation. Would they be ready for a Game 7 in Denver? Now we're here, and I'm jumping ship, and I'm switching sides, and I'm going Denver.
Okay, so you don't believe the Wolves can kind of flex that defensive muscle once again that made them one of the stingiest teams in the NBA?
I think they can in
season.
some ways. I don't think it'll be defensive domination like it has been in their 2 blowout wins, but the total tells you, let me grab the splits on that, but that opened like 200. We're down to 197.5. 28% of the bets, 58% of the handle on the under in that game. I do think we could see it tighten up, but I just trust Denver at home to play their game. And Minnesota, Anthony Edwards is going to show up, like I trust SGA to show up. Are the other guys? I'm not as sure.
So that was 115-70 was the final for that Game 6 on Thursday. That margin of victory was the second largest by a team facing elimination in NBA history. Meanwhile, your Celtics are kind of just chilling at home. They're resting. They're recovering right now. Who, and especially you as a big Celtics fan, who would give them the biggest headache? Would it be Indiana or would it be the Knicks?
So it's the Knicks. Like, you can see when you watch the Knicks how
as dinged up as they are?
annoying they are. Well, that's the dilemma here. Like, the Knicks are the more annoying team. Like, Hartenstein, Hart, those guys on the glass and the way the Knicks play would get annoying. But if, like, Hart is now dinged up, Brunson's got the foot, when is OG going to come back from the hamstring? Like, and Mitchell Robinson's out. Okay. All of these kind of add up to just, like, how are they going to actually beat the Celtics
look at
4
these,
times? But if it's Indy, I don't trust them either. So
look at the current series numbers here. If it's Celtics-Knicks, Celtics minus 750 in
I mean, that's kind of light.
In the series, and then Knicks plus 500. If it's the Pacers, Celtics right now on the DK Sportsbook listed minus 900, and the Pacers are plus 600.
All right, so I'm technically right. The Knicks would be a more difficult time at minus 750 than minus 900.
You're slightly right. Absolutely. Anything else stand out to you before we go to break here in terms of futures for the Celtics?
The
or
one
any
thing that I
futures?
want to point out is that since Kristaps Porzingis went out of the lineup, Tatum generally plays 8 minutes in the first quarter, comes off the floor 5 minutes in, then comes back to replace Jaylen Brown at the end of the quarter. Since Porzingis got hurt, Tatum's playing the entire first quarter, all 12 minutes. Yet his point prop has only gone from 6.5 points to 7.5 points in the first quarter. He went over the first 5 games. Porzingis was out, stayed under the last game. Keep an eye on that moving forward. Tatum first quarter points for as long as Porzingis is out because of his boost in the rotation.
All right, guys, let's put this show on ice. Coming up, 3 tickets have been booked to the NHL Conference Finals. One more could be punched tonight. Which side our Sticky Puck panel is backing ahead of the Canucks clashing with Das Oilers in Edmonton? those skates and put this show on ice here. We're almost out of the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's dive into what's cooking with two of my favorites. We got Jeff Ulrich of DraftKings Network here for an opening face-off. Fun opening face-off edition here on The Sweat. Also, Pete Jensen of NHL.com. Gentlemen, the Stanley Cup playoffs. Midway through the second round, so far there have been plenty of thrills. There have been plenty of surprises and some sad moments, like for Jeff Ulrich's Oilers. Not feeling so oiled up right now, are you, Jeff? So Vancouver pushing Edmonton to the brink. Game 6 tonight. Would you call this a must-win for your team, Jeff?
No, I mean, they could definitely take it in 11, if the series gets that far.
All right, then tell me what
things
happens.
Aren't very oily. The lubricant levels in oil country are at all-time lows right now. I mean, I'm about as dry as can be. I'm not going to lie, but certainly, look, the Edmonton Oilers, as they come into Game 6, they do have one thing going for them. They've been outplayed this entire series. The Canucks are imposing their will. Physically, they're getting in faces. They still have the nuclear option. It's 2 games they need to win. They just need Connor McDavid to go McJesus for 2 games. It's possible that happens. So am I holding out a lot of hope? No. They're down to their backup goalie. The Canucks have been out shooting them. They've been making them look bad, but I gotta say, it's come down to 2 games for the Oilers, and you still have the best player. So I'm not counting them completely out, even though I feel like I should be. But this has been an entertaining series, and I do expect it to go 7 games. I think somehow the Oilers probably find a way to push us back to Vancouver.
Oh man, you sound really, really nervous right now, almost like you're panicking. Pete, how do you see this one playing out? Come on, which side are you on? Can you build Jeff Ulrich up here?
I also picked the Oilers
to
win
did.
this year, so didn't want to forget to remind people about that. They're still alive here, and their top players have outperformed to the most extent, I think, Vancouver's. But let's not forget, Vancouver has absolutely dominated this season series against them, right? Only 1 regulation victory in 9 tries for Edmonton regular season plus playoffs. They did win the game 2 in overtime on the road. They have been a pretty good home team through the years in the playoffs, but I just worry about their reliance on the power play. Vancouver is the better 5-on-5 team. Vancouver is the deeper team overall, and the goalies are a wash right now because it's a 3rd stringer against the backup unless Demko comes back. So I'm leaning Vancouver, even though I've been on the Oilers all year.
Oh, wow, Pete, that had to hurt you there, big man. What about which skater you expect to be a hero tonight, Jeff? You've already mentioned the Oilers have the best skater on the ice. So you got a DFS play, or maybe you want to take us to the props department on DK Sportsbook? You tell me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that if you're looking at the Oilers, I mentioned Connor McDavid for a reason. I mean, the Oilers just cannot have this guy do nothing for a game. I mean, as he goes, basically the team goes. And as you saw, he was held off the score sheet essentially in game 5, and they lost the game. I mean, they just can't have that. Connor McDavid, I think, will show up in some way, shape, or form in this game. And I think that looking to his shot on goal prop, it's 3.5 on DraftKings. I expect McDavid to at least have 7 or 8 attempts in this game. I just can't see this guy going down without a fight, without at least firing the puck, trying to get his team going with a big goal, much like he did in game 2 when, they obviously came back thanks to his breakaway goal. So they need McDavid. Like I said, an Oilers path to victory includes him. I think that going there makes a lot of sense. Now, look, if you want to play the other side as well, Brock Boeser has been an absolute Oiler killer. I really like taking him for a goal prop in this spot as well. He's plus 165. It's not the biggest he's been all season, but if anyone's going to score a big goal for him, I think Boeser makes sense. You can also look at Connor Garland if you like the Canucks as well. He's bigger at plus 300. Those are 2 guys I would like in the Vancouver goal department for sure.
All right, Pete, which side of this matchup tonight will you be looking at for a potential DFS player? Who do you think ends up shining the brightest? Outside of Connor McDavid, we know what he's going to do.
I like the defenseman plays in this series, whether it's Evan Bouchard. I mean, you can make the case over the past 2 postseasons, nobody has been better scoring the puck and assisting it as well at the defenseman position than Evan Bouchard, who's top 5 in the league in scoring right now. Also on Vancouver's side, Nikita Zadorov. Who could have ever seen this coming? We all knew the big trade of the season for Vancouver was acquiring Elias Lindholm, their productive 3rd liner from the Flames, but they also got Nikita Zadorov, and he's leading all NHL defensemen in even strength goals this postseason and is tied with Bouchard for the most even strength points by a defenseman with 8 through his first 11 playoff games. I mean, he's doing like quality versus quantity, third pair, and making a huge impact. So slide him into your DFS lineups and don't underestimate him in the props market. You could get some big numbers there.
Hey, Pete, Rangers looked dead in Game 6 on Thursday night against Carolina until they weren't. So Chris Kreider literally making kids cry, potting 3 third-period goals. A fatty hattie, my dude. New York wins in 6, moving on. What did you learn from their resilience on display Thursday night?
Yeah, I mean, I started looking at the other teams remaining and who could beat this team in a 7-game series, and there aren't many teams that could do it. I'm not convinced about Florida with some of their shortcomings and home losses this postseason. I'm certainly not convinced with Dallas if they move on and, you know, with the home struggles that they have had in some of these big playoff games. This might be the year that the Rangers, despite some shaky metrics and NHL edge stats and advanced metrics and possession and stuff like that, the overriding factor is Shesterkin. He's putting the team on his back. And if you can have in select games guys like Kreider or Trocheck or Panarin or Zibanejad, you know, having huge offensive games, Alexis Lafreniere has done it a couple of different times this postseason. That's going to be enough for this Ranger team to get over the hump. So right now, they're my Stanley Cup favorite with what they're doing. Not just because they're the only team, you know, first team to advance. It's just very impressive what they're doing on Shesterkin's back.
All right, Jeff, how impressive was this team in Game 6? Because it's not like Carolina was a pushover here.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think Carolina was probably the second best team in the East after the Rangers. I pretty much agree with Pete's take as well. I'd be looking to take them over the Panthers on a look-ahead line. For me, the Rangers really impressive. As Pete mentioned, like just a big conglomeration of players who just seem to be able to get it done. Yes, 5-on-5, they don't necessarily hold up as well as some of the other teams, but their special teams comes through when they need them to. They've got a ton of skill players that can get it done and score big goals. And then they realistically, even Shesterkin, sometimes his numbers don't look as good, but he just comes up with the big saves and the big games at the right time. The Rangers are going to be really tough to close out for any team this year.
Pete, Florida closes out Boston in 6. It is over. They are heading back to the conference finals right now. How live are they to head back to the Cup final, though? I know you've already mentioned you really love the Rangers, but Florida can give them hell, can they not?
Yeah, I mean, Florida gave the Hurricanes hell last year when they swept them. We thought that would be a tight series and, you know, 2 possession teams. I think that Florida has the advantage over the Rangers in terms of 5-on-5 shot attempts percentage and metrics like that. Like if you've watched the Rangers all season long, they led the NHL in comeback victories. They dig themselves that hole. Can it continue? You know, can they continue to, you know, pull a rabbit out of a hat? And that's what they did in Game 6 in Carolina. Make no mistake, the Canes were going to win that game, and they rose to the occasion. And that was like a Messier type performance by Chris Kreider in a big spot. So I think I'm leaning the Rangers here, but Florida is the better team on paper and a deeper team at that, I think.
Ulrich, the Panthers have clawed their way back to the conference finals here, dude. How long do you expect this run to last for?
Look, Florida does have a bit of a depth advantage for sure, but like they've got to beat the Rangers 4 times. They've got to beat Shesterkin 4 times. They've got to shut down the Rangers power play enough so they can get enough goals to win a game 4 times. Carolina couldn't do it. I don't really know why Florida can do it necessarily. Florida's going to win a couple games for sure, just because they do have dominant 5-on-5 play, and they're probably going to get a couple quick goals in a couple games and get up and be able to hold them off. But they've got a decided disadvantage in net, in my opinion. They're going to have the special teams disadvantage. And, you know, yes, like, you know, people like to look at those advanced metrics 5-on-5, but the Rangers really weren't that bad against the Hurricanes. They certainly held their own enough to get by them, to get up 3-0. I think the same story is going to happen here.
Hey, what's your outlook here for the Stars the rest of the way this postseason?
I mean, clearly they have to clean up some of their home ice issues and some of these big games that they've been dropping like flies so far in the postseason. But really, if they correct that, which they should, and take advantage of their power play opportunities like they've done so far in the postseason, they are going to overwhelm the other side in this Western Conference final. And they might even be the only team out there that could beat the New York Rangers in a 7-game series.
Gentlemen, your job here is done. An exciting time to be alive for both of you, all of us, all hockey fans across the world. Steve Buchanan's job is not done. Neither is Justin Verlander's job. He takes the mound today for the Astros against the Brewers. We're taking our talents inside the bettor's box when the sweat comes back. Giving Julian a little break here for all his hard work.
Yeah.
Talking basketball earlier in the
It's
show.
exhausting for him.
Yeah. Hey, he hit a baseball bet last night.
But that's great. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, me too. I'm shocked we don't have him on this segment. No, actually, we want winning bets here. Steve Buchanan has returned. We are dipping our toes. We're taking them, and now we are inside the bettor's box here, Steve. So some of your best bets, some bets you like on the DK Sportsbook ahead of the Saturday slate. And looks like we are going to start with our team, the Boston Mid Sox here. So one game under 500 right now. Steve, they're not great at home. We talked about it on the latest edition of our Since 1901, a Boston baseball podcast that you and I host. Drops every Thursday and Sunday here, folks. On the road last night, they gave up a 10 spot to the Cardinals, who are even worse at home than the Red Sox. So right now, why is this game on your betting card, and what do you like?
Yeah, so even after that win that the Cardinals had yesterday, now they're just 7-11 at home this season. So congratulations, we're getting close to 500. But pretty uneven pitching match, and the Red Sox have the advantage in this one here. They have Cutter Crawford going on the mound, but they're going to be facing Miles Mikolas for the Cardinals. He has just been downright atrocious so far this season. There's really no other way to put it. 6.19 ERA, his expected ERA at 5.15. So even if the numbers are a little bit better, an ERA above 5 is still nothing to toot your horn about. Not a big strikeout pitcher at all. He's averaging just above 6 per 9 innings at this point. When you look at the pitch arsenal that he has, he's going to be throwing at the Red Sox. He has a sinker, fastball, slider pitches. These are all pitches that the Red Sox actually do well against when facing a right-handed pitcher who throws these type of pitches. Last year and this year, the projected lineup for today has a 363 WOBA against the sinker, 369 against the fastball. So really good numbers there across the board for the Red Sox going up against Mikolas here today. Then you have Cutter Crawford going for the Red Sox. He's been one of their most consistent pitchers, 2.42 ERA, expected ERA of just over 3.02. He has been phenomenal against both sides of the plate too as well, against righties, against lefties here. I'm not really worried about how many runs the Cardinals put up yesterday. I think that was just more of an anomaly because the Red Sox bullpen has actually been quite good too as well. Pitching has been their strength all throughout the regular season thus far, whereas that is not the strength here for the Cardinals. You'll see that today with Miles Mikolas. So give me the Red Sox on the money line at -118.
How much longer do the Sox last hanging around 500?
They're in trouble now because I think Whitlock is going on the IL now with elbow soreness.
Oh my God!
Oh yeah,
more injuries.
More
to your
injury.
arms?
Did you miss that one?
So yeah, I missed a lot of things.
No, I understand.
I was just tweeting about Scotty Scheffler all day yesterday. So
well, I mean, it was the most entertaining. I'm not a golf guy at all, and I was locked in on Twitter for that for what was going on there.
Yeah, it was the greatest day in Twitter's history. I'm not kidding you.
It was a
golf
good one.
community coming together and pumping out nonstop content. Detroit pumping out nonstop runs yesterday. 13-0.
Right.
Destroying the Diamondbacks here. What are you targeting in this game today?
Diamondbacks really stumbling out of the gate here. Like, they didn't have a good April. They're not having a good May right now either. And this was, a
doesn't
team
look like they're going to get back to the World Series.
I mean, it's going to be tough sledding, especially with obviously how good the Dodgers have been, obviously. Padres are kind of rolling right now, too, as well. So the Diamondbacks are going to be in a tough spot. But let's talk about the game here today. I like going under the first 5 total of 3.5 runs. It's a really low run total, but you look at the pitching matchup here, really strong on both sides. You got Jack Flaherty going for the Tigers. You got Zach Gallen going for the Diamondbacks. Flaherty has been phenomenal. He's been as good as advertised. His ERA is actually more inflated than it should be. He's got a 3.88 ERA, which isn't even that bad, but an expected ERA of 2.98. So he definitely has been a bit unlucky on the mound. He's got some positive regression coming his way. His strikeout numbers have absolutely skyrocketed too as well. He averaged 9.2 strikeouts last year, which is a great number. That's over a strikeout per inning. This year, he's up to 11.6. He was pitching with the Cardinals a few years ago, back in 2021. He had like a Cy Young second half of the year. We're kind of seeing that guy again. Arizona against the fastball this year, too. This has been a big issue for them. That projected lineup for today against the fastball, which is Flaherty's main pitch, they have a combined 300 WOBA against that pitch and a 25% K rate. So that has been a pitch that has been giving them a ton of trouble here. Then we got Zach Gallen at home. This is a spot where I'm always looking to target Zach Gallen. 0.53 ERA at home. Only 1 run allowed through just 17 innings of work for Zach Gallen in Arizona here. Tigers cannot hit the curveball at all. Combined 203 WOBA for the expected lineup here today, going against one of Zach Gallen's best pitches in the curveball there. That's his out pitch. That's where he generates a lot of his swings and misses. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game. Give me under 3.5 runs for those two tonight.
And don't look now or do, but the Royals second place in the American League Central.
I mean, somebody was tooting their horn all off season long. It might have been this guy right here.
Yes, it was. They had a 6-2 win over the A's at home yesterday. The vibes in Kansas City are high right now because they held a 2014 American League champion reunion last night. So friend of the program, Eric Hosmer, was there.
There we go.
Hanging out with all of the incredible people of Kansas.
Did they give something to the players?
I'm pretty sure they gave a lot of high fives and there was a lot of beers consumed.
Did they roll it to Hosmer because all he does is hit ground balls?
I knew that was coming as well, but you like the team total going over the Royals team total today. Why is that?
Yeah, they're in a good spot here going up against Ross Stripling, who's been very ineffective so far this season for the Oakland Athletics. His strikeouts have just completely bottomed out from him there. 5.7 K9 on the season. That's the lowest of his career at this point here. One of his main pitches, he throws a slider, which is a pitch, I should say, that the Royals have been crushing. Combined 377 WOBA against that pitch with an 18.4% K rate, which is extremely low, but that is going to be an issue here because Stripling is not getting strikeouts to begin with here. Teams are making a lot of contact against him, especially against that slider there. So this Royals offense has been rolling right now. Even if they don't get the 4.5 off of Stripling, the bullpen has been extremely ineffective as well. Only when they're winning. Obviously, we've heard a lot of talk about Mason Miller, who's been one of the most electric pitchers in baseball. This is somebody that we're talking about seeing in the All-Star game. Other teams are coveting him already, talk about trades, because that's all Oakland likes to do. They get good players, then they ship them off. But when Oakland is losing, the bullpen is extremely ineffective here. So give me the Royals. Go over 4.5 runs today.
Another over on a team total you like. We are going to Wrigley Field here. So you like the Cubs team total over today because, let me guess, they're not facing Paul Skeens now.
Yes, correct. So when they're not facing Paul Skeens, we can take the over on the Cubs team total here. Instead, they're facing Bailey Falter. And it's going to feel like he's throwing beach balls after facing like
What's
22...
up with guys named Bailey? You know, they seem to struggle at whatever they do.
Yeah, life is not kind to them if your name is Bailey. It's a dog's name. But that's what you name your dog. Name your dog Bailey, not your kid. But Bailey Falter, it's going to feel like he's throwing beach balls after what they saw yesterday from Paul Skeens, who pumped out 100-mile-per-hour pitch. I think it was 26 times yesterday. But he is a fastball pitcher. That is his main pitch there. He's throwing over 55% of the time when he's on the mound. That lineup for the Cubs today, projected lineup, 373 WOBA against the fastball when it's thrown by a lefty. That's the key part here. The Cubs are very good against lefties and lefties who throw fastballs. 4.15 ERA for him. Expected ERA 5.45. So he's actually been a lot worse than we've seen so far. His defense has kind of bailed him out in certain instances here, but much worse on the road too as well. 6.63 ERA on the road with a 339 WOBA. But this is a bad spot here for Falter, especially with someone who throws the fastball as much as he does going against this Cubs team. Give me at least 5 runs for the Cubs.
All right, let's hit on some player props here.
Sure.
And first one is a dude who's pretty good at playing the guitar.
You totally threw me off because I was like, wait, what? Because I have a prop for Ohtani and Santana, and then I realized, he's talking about Carlos Santana. This is the much fatter Carlos Santana, the one that plays baseball, and it's not Bronson Arroyo. But Carlos Santana to go over 1.5 hits, run, RBI. I think it's at even money right now for him. It's at plus 105.
Okay.
But going against Logan Allen for the Guardians, another guy who is a pure fastball pitcher, throwing it 50% of the time. Since last year, Santana is an absolute fiend when it goes against lefties who throw fastballs. 483 WOBA against that pitch since last season with a 250 isolated power. That's obviously a power stat there. So going over the hits, run, RBI. Santana last year overall against lefties, 358 WOBA. This is a great spot for him against a guy who throws a fastball a lot. Carlos Santana is going to hit lower in the Twins lineup, about 6 probably, I would say, but that's some good opportunity to get some RBIs and whatnot, especially with some of the guys in front of them who also hit lefties well, like Carlos Correa. So I think this is a really good spot to back Santana for over 1.5 hits, run, and RBI.
All right, before we go to break, real quick here with the biggest name in baseball, Shohei Ohtani. He hit a homer yesterday on Ohtani Day, and now his bobbleheads are selling for up to $1,500, $2,000 after the stadium giveaway.
But real quick, like him to go over 1.5 bases. He's done that, gone over 1.5 bases in 26 of the 44 games that he's played so far this season. 20 of those games have been multi-hit games. So he has just been unbelievable at the plate. Going against somebody who throws a cutter and a slider 80% of the time, Ohtani and Woba over 450 against both of those pitches since last year.
All right, dude. Nice work, man. Let's take our talents to Baltimore. Julian Edlow loves the crab cakes there. We got a race week scratch. We got a field of talented Colts trying to take down Kentucky Derby winner Mystic Dan. Talking Preakness with Mike Somich. Bet you need to bet on DK Horse. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Sweat. I am Emerson Lotzi. We're kicking off the second hour of said Sweat right now by talking the second jewel of the Triple Crown. Here to answer all the hard-hitting questions about the Preakness Stakes, our VSiN teammate, Mike Somich. Top of the morning to you, friend. What's going on?
Not too much. Exciting day. We got the second jewel of the Triple Crown. We got a phenomenal undercard from Pimlico, too. You can bet on the races all day long over at DK Horse. And I'm excited to talk about this one because I don't like the favorite.
Oh, I like where this is starting. You know, the original favorite was Bob Baffert's horse, Muth. So declared out a few days ago after coming down with the fever, making Kentucky Derby winner. Mystic Dan. Could this be the horse you're talking about? So does the path to a Triple Crown get a little easier?
It definitely got a lot easier with Moose scratching. He was going to be your favorite. It was 8-5 on the morning line. I thought was going to go off closer to even money. Look, I don't love Mystic Dan, but you can't argue that it got easier for him when you take out Muth, who beat him by 6 lengths in the Arkansas Derby. It changes up the complexion of this race from a pace perspective. Muth was going to be close to or on the front end, so that slows the pace down a little bit as well. But it took the best horse out of the race, and that's always a positive if you're Mystic Dan trying to go for a Triple Crown.
Shows you how much I know about horse racing when I'm pronouncing Muth. Anywho, good news for Baffert here, Mike, who we know has been the subject of significant controversy in recent years, wasn't at the Kentucky Derby. He still has another chance at adding to his record 8 Preakness victories with his horse Imagination in the field. How much you like the odds there?
Imagination's an interesting one. He's really the main benefactor from Muth scratching, which is interesting because they were both Baffert horses. But Muth was projected because he was drawn in the 4-post toward the inside of Imagination, who drew into the 9-post. He was projected to be on the lead. And so you're going to have Imagination sitting second toward the outside in this race. Well, Imagination, now the fastest early horse, and there's not a lot of horses that want to be in front in this race. So it projects that he's going to get a very good trip from that outside post, be able to cross over all his rivals to the inside and set the early pace. If he's able to do so without any threat, it could be just like last year we saw a Bob Baffert horse, National Treasure, go gate to wire.
All right, so tell me then the biggest difference between betting the Preakness compared to the Kentucky Derby 2 weeks ago.
It's a lot less of a crapshoot, Emerson. Yeah. The Derby is phenomenal. It's a blast. You can get big time prices. We've seen 12-1 or higher win the last 4 years, but it also can be very difficult to handicap because with 20 horses in the field, none of which have gone 1.25 miles before, you're really trying to project who's going to like the distance. What's the pace going to be like? What are the trips for these horses going to be like? Who's going to get cut off? Who's going to have to go wide? And that was a big difference for Mystic Dan. From that 3-post, it was very difficult to project him to get the trip that he got. He was able to sit right behind the leaders, save all the ground on the first turn, save all the ground on the second turn, slide through the rail, and be able to kick and clear and just be able to hold on. You didn't know that was coming. With only 9 horses and now 8 without Muth, you can project the trips a lot better for all of these horses. So there's a lot less guesswork in the Preakness than there is in the Kentucky Derby.
So then how do you handicap the 3 horses in the field, including Mystic Dan, who ran at Churchill Downs back on May 4th? So they're on short rest, or do they have any kind of advantage, or is it a non-storyline? You tell me.
I think it's a storyline here. To me, it's a disadvantage for the horses that were running in the Derby that are coming into the Preakness. Now, in years past, and I'm talking like in the 60s, 70s, horses ran every 2 weeks. That was normal. Today, you see horses run maybe once every 4 weeks. And so you have much more rest in between races. So these horses are not used to coming back in 2 weeks. And on top of that, look, the Derby's a stressful race, especially for these horses. They've got 19 other 3-year-olds that are all around them, bumping into them. They're trying to make trips out. They've never run that far before. All of that takes it out of a horse in a lot of different ways. And so I think it's a tall task for these horses on 2 weeks rest to be able to wheel right back, especially someone like Mystic Dan, who just ran his career best race, to wheel right back in 2 weeks and be able to repeat that exact same effort, especially when you have other horses who are coming in here with 5 weeks rest, 6 weeks rest, essentially your new shooters, which are ready to go. And we have that rest advantage on the horses that were in the Derby.
Yeah, and here we are, just like the Super Bowl, talking all day about an event, except this one lasts 2 minutes. So let's go ahead and keep dissecting it from every angle, shall we? How much do you account for the post positions of horses here?
I think it makes a massive difference in this race. You got to draw well to be able to be competitive in these spots, especially when you're talking about speed and pace, right? So the inside draws are better if you are a speed horse. The logical reason, you want to get to that first turn on the rail to save ground. Now, Imagination, who is your speed in this race, draws all the way to the outside. He's got to cross over. If he's not able to get across that field before the first turn, he's going to be in a world of hurt because that's what he wants to do. He wants to be on the lead. Horses that drew well in this spot, though, you have Tuscan Gold, who drew into the 8 post. That was a good spot for him. He wants to stalk on the outside. Mystic Dan actually drew very well into the 5 here. He should be sitting right behind the leaders on the first turn in a very comfortable spot, similar to the Derby. So for me, draw matters, not as much as the Derby, because with 20 horses, you really don't want to be the inside. You really don't want to be on the outside. With 8 horses, you can make your trip a little bit better, but it still makes a difference, especially from that early pace perspective.
Yeah, and also with 8 horses, not as many long shots here to bet on. So how do they typically fare in the Preakness?
Well, we've had 4 horses who were not the favorite win the last 4 Preaknesses. And Roundbauer won at 12-1. That was a nice price. Last year, it was National Treasure, who was 4-1, able to beat Mage, who was your Kentucky Derby winner in that spot. The favorites do okay. We've had 36 winners of this race who also won the Kentucky Derby, the mass majority of them being favorites in this spot. But it's not a race that's been dominated by favorites, especially over the last few years. You've been able to get prices, and a lot of these Derby horses, like we talked about, when they're wheeling back quickly, they struggle with coming back so quickly, and they generally get heavier bet by the public because they know who they are. They just talked about them 2 weeks ago, and this is a very public bet race.
So out of all of the 3 Triple Crown races, you tell me, does this one have the richest history of dramatic finishes and unexpected triumphs?
I would say the Derby does, just because, and maybe not on the dramatic finish side, but the unexpected triumph side for sure. You're just going to get more prices in a 20-horse race. However, you can point back to Preaknesses, and there are some very memorable ones, right? We've got Rachel Alexandra when she was a filly. She beat the boys in this race. In the COVID year, Swiss Skydiver, another filly, beats the boys. If you want to go back to 1989, the best Preakness I've ever seen. You've got Sunday Silence and Easy Goer, which was really the last time we had a phenomenal rivalry in horse racing. They switched leads 4 times during that race, one horse or the other leading. That was a phenomenal race as well. And if Fleet Alex goes down to 1 knee and still able to win this race. So if you had a lot of dramatic Preakness moments over the years.
Considering maybe some of the iffy weather later today, what's your favorite way to bet the Preakness here? Like, which wagers are you considering putting down here?
Well, I'm going to be betting to win because I'm against Mystic Dan. I don't think he's going to be able to wheel back in 2 weeks. I wasn't a big fan of Mystic Dan in the Derby. His trip that I mentioned was absolutely perfect in a 20-horse field, and he still almost got beat. So for me, Mystic Dan's a horse I want to play against, especially since he's going to be a short price. I would expect Mystic Dan goes off somewhere around even money, maybe even 4 to 5. And if that's the case, I just want no part of Mystic Dan. I think there are 3 horses that are going to be better prices that are more likely to win the race than he is. And so I'm going to play win bets, and we'll get to that in a second. Then I love playing the trifecta, especially if I've got the favorite out. I want to try and play the try because that's going to create a much bigger payout if we can run Mystic Dan out of the top 3.
Yeah, and I was trying to brush up on my horse racing knowledge here, and I came across a great network on dknetwork.com here, and it was a bunch of videos, a bunch of advice from you. So the trifecta, picking the top 3 horses in the exact order of finish here. You said you're betting to win, though. Let's go there. The horse you like. I already know you're out on Mystic Dan. Who is the horse you like to win this thing?
Well, I'm going to say Bob Baffert just keeps on rolling here in the Preakness. I like Imagination from the outside. I just don't see anyone that wants to go with him. And to me, that's a big-time problem here. If Imagination is able to shake loose and set a slower pace, somewhere around 48 seconds to the half mile, I think he's going to be very, very tough to reel in. And if you look at his Santa Anita Derby, it was a little disappointing. It was a step back from what we saw from him in the San Vicente. Ends up losing to Stronghold in that race. Well, Stronghold ran really well in the Derby. He drew outside. He was close to the pace. He still hung in late, ended up running in the top 7 in the Derby. If Stronghold is that good, Imagination should be able to handle this Preakness field, especially if he does get that early pace. So I'm going to take Imagination on top. I'm hoping we get somewhere in that 4 to 5 to 1 range, Emerson.
Man, you know, Baffert is just going to have that evil grin on his face, like the Grinch, if this horse pulls it out. So if you're doing the trifecta, give me that second and third horse then.
I'm going to look at Catching Freedom. He's reeling back on the short rest here from the Kentucky Derby, but he had a brutal trip there. He was forced all the way back, was able to save ground around the rail the second time, but he wants to be a little closer to the pace. And with the slower pace that I'm expecting in the Preakness, I think Catching Freedom gets a much better trip here in the Preakness than he got in the Derby. You've also got Flavian Pratt, who's the best jockey for my money here in the United States. So I love the fact that he's going to ride Catching Freedom back here in the Preakness after what he did in the Derby running fourth. And then let's go to the 8 horse here. And this is interesting. We've seen Chad Brown pull this a lot before. He's got Tuscan Gold, the 8 horse. He loves to run horses in the Preakness after they miss the Derby. We've seen him win a couple times with these horses. I think this horse gets a very good trip from that 8 post and runs a little bit better than what we saw in the Louisiana Derby. He ran 3rd last time we saw him to Catching Freedom in the Louisiana Derby, but I think he's got a shot to still crack the top 2, crack the top 3, and be able to put Mystic Dan way late. So we're going to play a 3-9 with 3-8-9 with 3-8-9 trifecta. And like you mentioned, Emerson, make sure you check out YouTube.com/VSiN and DKNetwork.com. You've got Horse Racing 101 videos by me. Helps you understand what I'm talking about right now if you're not all that well versed in horse racing.
Yeah, which is me, which is why I was watching all of your videos, which is why I'll be watching you on VSiN and DK Network later today and then tomorrow as well. You're going to be hosting The Handle. Lots more horse goodness there. Mike, so much. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. Appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks for having me. Let's go Imagination, baby. Let's get it on.
do it, baby. Appreciate the help. So for all your Preakness bets, folks, make sure you hit up DK Horse. Download the app. Get to work. We'll hopefully talk to Mike here in 3 weeks ahead of Belmont. As for the NFL schedule, that just dropped. Let's talk which teams got screwed. Maybe a few who did not. Jules and Steve return when the sweat returns after this. All right, guys, the NFL schedule, the regular season schedule, it's been unveiled. So it includes over 70 national broadcasts between the league's smorgasbord of television and streaming partners. My God, you need every streaming service now if you want to watch every NFL game.
I'm tired of it.
Why can't I just pay for cable and get the games?
Yeah, that would be
That's
nice,
what I do.
wouldn't it? I think eventually cable makes a comeback. I
It
really
is,
do,
because the streaming services are reinventing cable.
So now, like the big hot rumor is that you're going to get Netflix, Peacock, and I forget the other one.
YouTube,
NFL segments off to a strong
Max.
start.
But it's like three of these like conglomerates are going to turn into one. It's just
Yeah, that's called cable. Here, we have a
You're-
package
you're
that
not
offers you
wrong.
all these channels.
You're not wrong.
Life is full circle. You know, Uber and Lyft became expensive, started taking taxis again. Airbnb,
No, I don't do that.
Airbnb
No,
started
no,
making you clean your own room. Everyone went back to hotels.
Wait, is that real?
Yeah. Every time I'm at an Airbnb,
If I had to
they're
stay
like,
somewhere
"Please
after
clean-"
you, and it's like, oh, don't worry, Emerson cleaned up your your apartment. Your check-in should go
Don't
fine.
worry,
I would be
dude.
like, no.
Sheets are in the wash. Don't you worry about it. When the schedule dropped, what were your overall thoughts? What was your biggest takeaway? Could be a specific team, just could be overall. What do you think, Jules?
Yeah, I didn't have any like, oh, this team got a bad draw, good
Yeah.
draw. We already knew the teams. We just had to see the order. I don't
Right.
think there's any order where like,
Yeah.
oh, this team goes on a bad stretch here because you got to play all these teams anyway. That said, I did go back and check on the two teams with the lowest win totals, which are the Carolina Panthers and the New England Patriots. Carolina technically priced as the worst team in the league because they're minus 140 to go over 4.5 wins. The Patriots are minus 160 to go over 4.5 wins. But those two teams are priced as underdogs in all 17 games. However, the Patriots are priced as steeper underdogs.
Yeah.
The Pats' shortest game is a 2-point home dog against the Colts in week 13 or 14. And they're 2.5-point dogs against like Tennessee, the Chargers when they host the Chargers. But Carolina, on the other hand, is a 2-point dog or shorter 4 times. They're a 1-point home dog 3 times. That's essentially a pick 'em game. So my takeaway was the Patriots are priced as the worst team in the league on the schedule. They're a 2-point dog or longer in every game, and no other team can say that.
What was your instant reaction?
There are 9 teams this year that will play three games within a 10-day span, and that's something that we haven't seen in years. Like not
Damn.
within that many teams within the last
So what do you have
5
to do?
games.
You have to play
So it's Monday, Sunday, Thursday.
Monday, Sunday, Thursday,
But then there's
yeah.
also 4 teams that are playing on Christmas, and those are Wednesday games.
Right.
As well.
The Christmas is going to really
Screw
throw
up
a wrench.
everything.
If you want to talk about getting screwed on the schedule, it's
Yeah.
probably the Christmas team.
Yep, so that's Chiefs, Steelers, and then Ravens, Texans, I think it is. But it's Steelers, Ravens, Texans, Chiefs, Bengals, Bears, Seahawks, Saints, Cowboys. All have a stretch at one point during the year where they have to play three games within 10 days.
Okay.
And obviously, teams hate that, right? Like it's just such a disadvantage to them. So I thought that was pretty eye-opening because the NFL is very clearly trying to jam as much product as possible, which obviously so. But this also makes me, leads you to believe that they are going to continue to expand the regular season too as well. Because it's like, well, we got all these games that are just clobbered together. Let's just add another week. So then there'll be a week 19. Because Goodell was on, I think it was McAfee's show, where he was saying that, this is something that we're looking to potentially do within the next few years.
Yeah, he said he hates the preseason.
Right, hates the preseason, which we all do. I think we can all agree that we hate the preseason.
But I think we all
Yeah.
agree they need somewhat of a preseason for a lot of these guys who need to get into game action. I think there's
Sure.
been a reason that we've seen like an increase in injuries in a way.
Sure.
Lower body injuries, Achilles, ACLs.
But like playing these full games for, was it 4 weeks that they do the preseason?
Now it's 3.
3? It's too much.
It should be
Yeah.
1 or 2.
And
Yeah.
we've also seen like the impact of slower starts for teams, like in terms of
Absolutely.
totals and unders hitting on props and all that jazz. The Chiefs play at least one game on every day of the week except Tuesday.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
insane.
That
So
is
I'm looking now at Christmas, and what they're doing
I love Christmas.
is, yeah, but we're not going to talk about you sitting on the couch on your 12th eggnog. I'm going to talk about the schedule. So what they're doing is so the Chiefs and Steelers, they play a Saturday game on the 21st
Yep.
so that they don't play Sunday, and then play on Wednesday. The 25th of Christmas. I guess if it does anything for them, like, yeah, that's a really tough turnaround, but you are playing other teams that you're playing another team that played on your day. So
Yep.
it's the same turnaround for both teams. And then after that, you get a little mini late season bye because you play Wednesday, skip the Sunday, and don't go again until next week. So it's kind of like going into
So
the playoffs. Like, maybe
it-
that's a good time to get Mahomes 10, 12 days of
Right.
rest for the playoffs.
So,
You
like,
look at
it
the other
evens
way.
out, but like you mentioned, like, the quick turnaround is what matters the most, in my opinion.
The quick
Like, sure,
turnaround
you get the
game-
rest and everything, but the quick turnaround is more detrimental than, the rest is going to benefit you after.
The quick turnaround game is going to hurt, but at least it's like Steelers play Saturday, Chiefs
Yep.
play Saturday against different opponents, and
Yep.
then play each other on Wednesday.
Are there any lines that stand out to you guys for like week one?
So one that kind of was eye-opening for me is that the Bears are 4.5-point favorites. That
Yeah.
is the most points a rookie quarterback
That's at
is-
home against the Titans.
Yep, that is the most points a rookie quarterback is going to lay since 1988.
In an
So-
opener,
Yeah. So is Caleb Williams that guy?
do we know who that was?
I do.
You have all the reporters.
I do not know the name offhand.
All the reporters watching
Just
him
curious.
throw in shorts and without a helmet and everything this week are just gushing over him. And I'm like, okay, can
So-
we slow it down just a little
So
bit?
for me, it's like, do I want to lay 4.5 points with the Bears against the Titans? Like, the Titans are going to be a defensive liability. I think, maybe middling league average defense, but, they brought on Calvin Ridley. They
Yep.
got Tony Pollard now in the backfield going against, you don't know what you're going to get out of the rookie quarterback.
Did you see enough out of Will Levis, though? Like, small sample size.
I mean,
last year.
sure, small
We'll
sample,
find out
but
a lot more this year.
yeah.
I don't know
That's
enough
a
to
good
necessarily
take.
say.
We will find more about Will Levis.
I mean, but I don't
in
want
here,
to.
too.
I don't want to. I'm just saying, I'm not going to take that small sample and bet the Titans just because I want to fade the Bears. If it wasn't the Titans, then maybe I would be siding
Yeah.
with Steve. I'm just going to leave that game alone.
There's nothing you hop on now, right? Like, what is your advice? These lines come out, everyone's excited, they want to hop
I
on
don't-
and maybe bet some things now. Do you get
I don't
on
mind
anything
betting
now, or do
some
you say,
stuff.
hey, relax,
I know
chill?
Julian doesn't mind betting the stuff now, and obviously you can get some amazing closing line value, but you can
So-
also get a very poor number because there is so much that can happen between now.
People are
and
going to get
September.
hurt in camp.
Yep.
We know that every year. There's going to be X amount of players that go down in camp, change numbers. I'll give you one example of one that you've already got good CLV if you got, and I would still take it at the bad number, the opener. Ravens at Chiefs Thursday night,
Yeah.
September 5th. Total, I believe we opened at DraftKings Sportsbook 51.5. It's 47.5.
Right.
We're 4 months or whatever it is away from the game, and the total has moved 4 points. I agree with the move. I think 47.5 is as far as I would go. 27-20 game sounds likely. We saw the Chiefs in the opener last year. What was it? 21-20 Lions in the Thursday night opener. I don't think it's a terrible spot to take a look at Baltimore getting 3. A lot of other shops are at 2.5. You can get the 3 at DraftKings on Baltimore, but I would much prefer the under in an opener like this. We've seen it time after time in this Thursday opener. It can get a little clunky. Chiefs are going to work in, their new receivers because they've got some changes there. And both had really good defenses last year, just like we saw in the AFC Championship.
Especially the
game.
Ravens,
So
yeah.
under in the opener is one that I think is a good example of one that you can get your money in on early because it's going to move, and also a play that I like. I agree with the move.
You're a wait and see guy.
I would much rather wait and see. Like, obviously Julian has his feelings. Like, he wants to get some
Yeah,
of
he
the
does
best
have
value off
feelings.
the board. And that's fine.
I really don't.
And that's fine. But, like, I'm not looking
More of
to,
a robot.
tie up my money now for 4.5 months for, maybe a couple points here and there. Like, I'm more comfortable waiting until we get closer to it and then taking it then.
How much interest do you guys have in how far these teams will be traveling this season? The Chargers need.
I feel like, I thought that was something that you were more into.
Yeah, you seem like a
Road
guy
trips,
who's-
it's more spot by spot. Like, what is your spot this week? How bad was your travel this week?
Yeah, you look at
or the
maybe-
last couple weeks, or these 3 games in 10-day spans, like Steve said. If you're going on the road for like that third game, okay, not a great spot.
You're
I don't
looking
care
at
about
like
the season
maybe
overall.
a team's going from the West Coast who's got to travel all the way over to like Germany or something.
I want it for that one game. I'm not going to bet like we're about to see on the screen right here.
Yeah.
Chargers travel the most miles, so that's not, Chargers win total under.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are going to need to find a way to not only beat teams but also jet lag. Chargers are set to undergo an NFL high 36 time zone changes
I-
while
this is-
traveling in 2024. I know. I'm just saying, big picture on paper, that is kind of wild.
This is the disadvantage of the schedule, being as it is. Like, people just dissect it so incredibly much. Like, the 49ers had the worst rest advantage last year. Okay, the 49ers also had one of the best records in the league last year. It's like, if you have talent on the team, you're going to win these games, regardless of rest and travel.
Friday night football in Brazil, another one that moved. Packers open 3.5, it's down to 1. I agree with the move. Packers beat the Eagles.
Well, that's
who
scary if you
terrible
agree
name
with
last
it.
year.
All right, we'll see if Xander Schauffele can change the narrative around him entering the third round of the PGA Championship today. And also, Scotty Scheffler, dude's got street cred now.
I don't really know. I feel like my head's still spinning. I can't really explain what happened this morning. I did spend some time stretching in a jail cell. That was a first for me. That was part of my warm-up. I was just sitting there waiting, and, I started going through my warm-up. I felt like there was a chance I may be able to still come out here and play, and so I started going through my routine. I tried to get my heart rate down as much as I could today, but like I said, I still feel like my head's spinning a little bit, but I was fortunate to be able to make it back out and play some golf today.
Scotty Scheffler can't explain what happened to him. None of us can explain what happened to Scotty yesterday. Not even Jeff Ulrich, our gorgeous golf guru of DK Network, who was here to help us navigate some of the bets ahead of round 3 at the PGA Championship. But first, dude, you know what we got to start with. Scotty Scheffler went to jail Friday morning. He stretched in his cell. He ate a breakfast sandwich he got from the holding officer. He watched his own arrest on TV, Jeff. He went out and shot a 66 with an abbreviated warm-up, like 30 minutes, hardly putt. And then he lost to only 5 guys in the field, the deepest field of the year. Please tell me how impressed you are with the composure he showed, how he was able to overcome all that crap yesterday.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I just, again, we were talking off camera. If he somehow wins this golf tournament, it's going to be the most impressive athletic performance of the last, basically ever. I don't even really know how to put into words what happened yesterday to Scotty Scheffler. I mean, waking up and seeing Scotty Scheffler's mugshot, just blasting through Twitter and then wondering what the heck has gone on, reading about the circumstances. It's just absolutely mind-boggling. But look, I mean, the dude stretched in a jail cell. Like, the thing is, you can't throw any more adversity at this guy at this point for this tournament. He's literally had his warm-up taken away and was put in a jail cell right before his round 2 just to try and stop the momentum, and they couldn't stop him. So I don't know what to say about it, man. It's very unprecedented. Obviously, it was a weird turn to circumstances, but definitely a good sign that we are living in a simulation. and I don't really have anything else to worry. It's just one of those things it's hard to put into words what happened. It's so unbelievable.
Yeah, after Greg Norman bailed him out, he got to the course and he was dapping up police officers after his round. He took the high road as the saint that he is, and praising Louisville police for all of their hard work and everything they dealt with yesterday morning. The guy is just the nicest dude on the planet.
I think that's the other thing about this. I think we learned more about Scotty Scheffler. I mean, I've heard Scotty Scheffler talk more this week and just find him more interesting after this event than I ever have. I mean, I think there's so many different ways that we could have reacted. And regardless of whether Scotty Scheffler is maybe just being a little political here, or maybe just biding his time before his lawyers actually come back and sue the city of Louisville for every single penny. It doesn't matter. It's really impressive, like you said, that he's been able to maintain his composure to this point, because there's a lot of opportunity where he could have been what exactly just happened here?
Yeah.
What are these jabronis doing exactly? But it is what it is. I'm not necessarily criticizing the police either. Obviously, there was a lot going on. A fatal accident. A man did lose his life, which was extremely tragic as well. So it was kind of a tough scene for all parties. But man, really interesting. The way Scotty Scheffler handled it was obviously impressive on the course and off it, because I thought he talked more eloquently and just more interestingly than he had at any point, prior to this.
I think reports are charges are expected to be dropped. It's interesting because he's in the field for the tournament next week, and he has a court appearance on Tuesday. So we'll see how all of that shakes out. But also interesting strategy by him to win the $12 million top pip prize, because he definitely won it after this week. But round 3 is going to start later here, Jeff. You're going to have guys going off 10-1. Groups of 3. Round 2, there's still 18 guys who have to finish this morning. That will start up here in 6 minutes at 9:40. Everything's been delayed this morning because of fog. What's the impact of this delay? Does the course dry out later? Maybe scores aren't as low? You tell me.
I think it'll probably be the opposite. I mean, when it gets delayed because of fog and moisture and stuff like that, it just means the course is going to play more receptive. I mean, it obviously rained a lot yesterday. I mean, I think they'll try and make the course tougher. I think they'll probably put some pins in places and maybe move some tee boxes around, but I'm not really sure how much more they can do with this course. I mean, it's long, but it's not really playing long.
Yeah.
This is just what I would just call a fairly generic setup, unfortunately. There's a couple interesting holes, but, there's also like shorter holes that the players are obviously going to be able to take advantage of really no matter what they do. So I don't really expect that the scoring will get any lower or anything like that, but I don't think we'll see a huge dichotomy between the first two rounds. Potentially we get it a little bit tougher conditions, but I think there's still going to be, scores of 65, 64, maybe even a 63 out there for these guys to attack. Again, when we're getting delayed because of things like fog and stuff, it's not because it's blaring heat and the course is drying out. It's pretty much the exact opposite. And there's also a little bit of rain in the forecast for today. So no, I don't think things will dry out. I think we're going to see a soft tournament right up until the end. You're probably going to see the winner get in at over 20 par, which is pretty insane for a major.
God, that is absolutely insane. Yeah, cut line is at 1 under here, dude. So there have been just 2 other major championships where the 36-hole cut was under par. So that was the 1990 Open Championship at St. Andrews. That was -1. And then the 2006 Open at Royal Liverpool, also 1 under par here. Xander Schauffele is atop the leaderboard right now, Jeff. We know the narrative surrounding him. Bet him in the first round of majors for sure, because that's where he thrives. But he is struggling to close out these opportunities. How confident are you that he can change this narrative around him and finish this?
I mean, you have to obviously love what you've seen from Xander Schauffele, not just in the first 2 rounds of this event, but I mean, like last week, he struck the ball magnificently. Like he absolutely was crushing it. You look at his strokes gained off the tee, his approach stats, they were really, really good. But at the same time, we're only in round 2, and you look behind him, and Colin Morikawa is now 1 shot back. Scotty Scheffler is a +9. Bryson's at -9, excuse me, and Bryson's at -9 as well. These guys are 3 shots back. This course is open and available for anyone to shoot a 63. And like I said, I think it's going to be like that on Sunday as well. So you feel good about Xander. Like, I mean, I wish I had bet him at this point, and I wish I had a Xander ticket. You feel as good as you can, but you don't feel safe at all. This is a guy who obviously has not won in almost 2 years. He's never won a major. He's never closed it out. He's been in this position before. He's been in final groups on Sunday before. Hasn't closed it out. So he's got to beat at least 2 elite players, 3 if you want to throw in Bryson. And in these situations, he's typically been the guy who's kind of been left standing, just holding his hands with nothing. So really interesting spot for Xander. He's clearly playing the best golf of his life right now. I think he will close it out. But man, I would not put anyone off betting against him at all. Just from the names that are behind him, and B, his history in these spots.
I've got an outright on Theegala, so I would absolutely love to see him get it. I'll be able to provide food for my family for a week.
Are really good. The conditions for Theegala are very beneficial. They're soft. He can go low. Obviously would be kind of the dark horse of that group.
Yeah, for sure. So Jeff, with the scoring conditions that you've mentioned, I see guys like, Brooks Koepka is heating up. Like so many guys within that handful of strokes of Xander Schauffele, and with scoring conditions going to be prime and there for the taking today. How far back then are you willing to go, like right now, for an outright, besides maybe the top 3-4 dudes on the leaderboard here, on the odds board?
So here's the thing. Yeah, like it is prime for a low number, and I get all that, but let's not forget, like, there's almost no chance. Like, it's hard for these guys to make double bogey on this course. You basically have to hit it in one of the
Tom Kim did it yesterday. Damn it, Tom Kim.
Yeah, a couple guys did it, I know, and my guy Neiman somehow made a double bogey too. But look, it is hard. So it's going to be hard to make up ground because these guys are playing so good at the top, and they're all going to be shooting like at least 68, even if they play poorly. So keep that in mind. But, looking back, I think of the top 5 players, Bryson has the most appeal to me.
Love it.
I think Bryson is playing extremely well. He's crushing it off the tee. If that putter heats up, I really think he's a player who could go out and shoot 64, 63 on Sunday. So a +900, he'd be my pick of the top 5 guys. But if you want to get a little wild, you want to go down, I'm going to throw out a name. This is incredibly insane, and you don't have to bet this guy. But Matt Wallace at +1300. He's playing really good golf. Yesterday, I believe he shot 6 under yesterday. He's in a -7, so he's 5 back. But I really think with the conditions and just with how Matt Wallace is playing, he's probably a better top 10 target at +400. But if we're gonna get something crazy and some kind of crazy winner, like he would be my pick. He's won on the PGA before. He's won multiple times as a pro. He's played really good golf over the last 6 months, and I think he can go low in these conditions. So Matt Wallace for a crazy outsider, but I think he's a really nice, potentially like top 10 sweat there. +400 is pretty big odds for a guy playing as well as he is.
All right, Jeff Ulrich, it was good to have you here. We'll bring you back tomorrow to talk some hockey, to talk some PGA. Good luck to your Oilers tonight, my friends. That game will
Oh, God.
puck drop with that will happen right after the third round
Yeah.
wraps up. All right, coming
I
up.
might be in jail after that.
Hey, man, tell Scotty I said hello. The Sweaty Steaks. We're wrapping up the show after this. Welcome back to The Sweat, everybody. Final block of The Sweat. And because it has been a sweaty edition of The Sweat, it's time for the cool down. That's what we do in the last block of this show. I'm Emerson, Steve, Jules. This is what we've covered up to this point, folks. We delivered to you a Preakness preview with Mike Somich. Moving Day of Valhalla, you just listened to Jeff. We just listened to how Scotty now is a free man and his son will grow up with a father in his life. Best bets around the MLB.
It's a feel-good story all around.
And NBA. It is just so damn good. So if you missed anything we've talked about, you're looking for some help placing bets today, hit up the DraftKings YouTube page right now. All right, what we are betting today, because listen, this thing was so good last time. You remember a couple weeks ago? Do you remember a couple weeks ago where we did the fun little pony graphic, the racing graphic?
Yeah.
Out in Louisville for the Kentucky Derby.
This is just to satisfy producer Drew, but we're going to run it back.
Because producer Drew
all
and
of
I
our bets won last time.
Yeah, last time didn't quite work out the way we wanted to because you guys gave good bets, and we want them to lose, so one of you has to bring in donuts.
The score was actually Steve 1-0, Julian 1-0, Drew's Electronic Ponies 2-0, Emerson nothing.
Right.
That's true. I can't lose if I'm not in the competition.
Yep.
So here's what we're going to do for race one, right?
Okay.
So Steve, we're going to take your top baseball bet. So you like Red Sox money line.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
And we're going to put that bet up against the 4 horses and these 4 baseball bets. So here we go right here, folks. This is it. Horse 1, 2, 3, 4. Whichever one wins, this race is going to be placed against Steve's Boston Red Sox money line bet for today. And if Steve loses that bet, Steve will bring in donuts.
That is not going to happen.
I understand that's your attitude, but you need to change your attitude because it needs to happen. So let's go. Let's see how this baby plays out.
What a time to
Which
be alive.
one of these, though, would make you most nervous to go up against? What do you think?
Probably San Diego.
San Diego money line?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
No bounce back for Milwaukee
or the
today after
shoulder.
they screwed us last night?
I don't want to
yeah,
talk
that's
about
right.
Milwaukee.
Again, fade Julian on anything he's interested in betting on Fridays, everybody.
And there goes San Diego just falling back.
Wait a minute. Come
Great
on,
push.
San Diego. Come on, San Diego. Come on.
it's Cardinals.
gotta be-
One horse. Unrealistic, whatever this is called, simulation.
No, that
One horse
that
never
actually
wins.
is super real, dude.
One horse never
So,
Drew.
I think,
Nobody wants
what
to
have we
bet on
gone?
one
St.
horse.
Louis under 3.5.
Hey, no free ads.
St. Louis
not
under
showing that.
3.5, which
okay.
kind of like plays in anyway to like your bet there.
Yeah, it actually, yeah,
They're
it's-
playing each
right.
other here.
So what if? Yeah, we'll see.
All right, so that we are just hoping that yours, maybe like what, St. Louis wins 2-1, then you would end up having to bring in donuts.
I mean, it's not going to happen either way.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter.
All right, so Jules, let's go to yours here.
Yep.
We have race 2, everybody. This one is tense. All right? So, Jules, game 6 under tonight between the Thunder
Yeah.
and the Mavs. Under 209.5 total points. Going up against OKC money line, SGA under.
SGA under is brave.
Really?
Guy's been doing some heavy lifting this series.
All right, yeah, because you're a big SGA guy. You were pushing that during our NBA segment.
He's playing really well.
Chet, looks like the dude from Grandma's Boy, and Kyrie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Even Steve got that one.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right,
The shades were pretty creepy after the last game.
let's hear the horn. Fire it up.
I don't like many of those bets, to be honest. So I know you're going to ask me.
I wasn't going to
make you
ask
the
you
most
anything.
nervous.
Don't look into your crystal ball. You don't,
I think Kyrie goes over the 2.5 threes, so that would be the one that would make me the most nervous. I'm surprised we're not on an SGA over there, given the series.
Hey, listen, I didn't pick these things. This is
What?
producer Drew. So this is basically producer Drew on 4 horses here.
Yes. Drew just throws 8 bets against the wall. And
Drew is
attaches
a
them to
massive
horses.
horse guy. The dude loves horses.
Horses and Keno.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does.
A lot of
He should
Keno.
call 1-800
Wow.
Keno.
It's got to be Chet.
What a pull away.
Damn, dude. There's no way.
Yep.
All right.
That's fine by me. I have an over on the team that I think loses on a player prop going against my under for the game. So
All right, Turd.
they work against each other well.
All right, you're nervous.
No. You think Drew's electronic horse races don't give me any kind of emotion. Nervous, scared, happy, sad, nothing.
It's one of the best segments we've done in this show's history. And guess what? I can't wait for 3
pleased-
weeks from now.
I'm pleased
when we
that
bring it
Drew
back.
is on the other side of this wall smiling about his ponies.
Why? What's in 3 weeks?
What do you mean? What's in 3 weeks? It's the
Belmont Stakes.
It's the Belmont.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that weekend off.
It's in Saratoga Springs this year, too,
That's
because
right,
the original track is like under construction.
Saratoga.
We're hoping to go to the track, shoot some content. Maybe, you see us riding
hoping.
some horses. Maybe we could do that in real life. 4 of us
Somebody,
on a horse.
that seems like a great way for somebody to get hurt.
Yeah, well, you wear a helmet. All right? That's fine. All right, dude. So right now, what did we miss in this show? Is there anything else that you want to push up there for maybe some of the bets that you're relatively confident in today that people may have missed just waking up now because they had a late Friday night, tailing all of your terrible Friday night bets, Jules?
All right, 2 things that I want to catch up on. I warmed up with a little bit of WNBA and how good the card was looking. So I'm going to cool down with some actual player props from these games. It's a pretty good WNBA card. Have pretty much starting centers on every team that I like to go over their point prop. So we talked about Asia Wilson, how good she was in the opener. She's going up against a Sparks team that has not a very good presence in the middle. She dropped 30 in the opener. We got a really good number on our point prop. It's a little juicy, but 22.5 on DK. It's as high as 24.5 at other shops. So minus 130 on Asia Wilson to go over 22.5 points. Tiara McCown played really well in the opener for Dallas. She had 18 points and 13 rebounds. But also there was an injury on the Dallas front line. So I think she's going to play even more. She's going up in the same matchup she had those 18 points against the Chicago Sky. It's a rematch. Tiara McCown over 13.5 points, minus 125 is a play. And then for the Atlanta Dream, Tina Charles, OG. She's been around forever. Didn't play last season. She's playing for the Dream this season, going up against a weakened Mercury front line. No Brittany Griner. Tina Charles over 12.5 points. She had 20 plus in the opener, so I'm going to say she continues that. There's 3 WNBA player props.
I love the new WNBA passion out of you. This is
It's always been there. I'm just getting a little more into it now that I've been betting it for a few years.
Yeah.
I've been keeping it to myself, and now I'm.
And listen, there
going
were a lot of
public
people
with
who
it.
were kind of crapping on Pat McAfee this past week because Pat McAfee was open and honest about, listen, I don't know a whole lot about WNBA. He's like, has this team always been good? This team always been good? And I'm like, my brother in Christ, you have people who are getting upset about this. You have one of the biggest media personalities out there talking about the league. He's going to games now. It's like, people should not be upset that all of a sudden newcomers are coming into the sport. This is what you want.
learn about
you
it.
You want
There's a
new
learning
eyes
curve.
and ears. You want to introduce the game and all of these stars that have been around for years. Embrace the new people, welcome them in. Don't push away and say be like, oh, it's too late for you to jump on the bandwagon now. No, this is what you need to grow the game.
And it's fine to be learning it because so the Aces are looking to three-peat. The only other team to ever three-peat was the late 90s into early 2000s.
It's like the Comets or
Houston
something.
Comets,
Yeah.
who are no longer a team.
I'm a WNBA guy.
Back in the Cheryl Swoops days, I think. So that's the only team to do it. That's like the Shaq and Kobe Lakers. That team, that franchise doesn't even exist. So it's fine to be on the learning curve. One other quick thing going from WNBA to NBA before Steve can close with his thoughts. You mentioned, we talked about earlier in the show, Knicks and Pacers series lines are up for the Celtics. We're looking at minus 750, minus 900 for the
Yeah,
series.
we brought that up.
I don't care who it is. The Celtics are going to gentleman's sweep again. And series spreads are available for both teams. So you can bet it's minus 140 for either series. Celtics minus 2.5 games.
I don't know.
So Celtics win in 4 or 5. You think the Knicks are going to push them to 6?
No, I just think if it's the Pacers, the Celtics may have a problem beating them on their home court.
They will have a problem beating them one time, which is why it's going to be 4-1, and the minus 2.5 games is a win.
You sound
It's
a little,
minus 240 for
every
both.
time you are this confident,
so you bet them
it
both.
never works out.
You bet them both, and whichever series doesn't occur, that voids, you get your money back, and the other one is action. You can just bet them both now.
Bukes, he's giving you about 25 to
Yep.
30 seconds.
No, that's fine. I was just going to quickly mention Christopher Sanchez for the Phillies, under 4.5 strikeouts going against the Nationals. They have one of the lowest K rates in the league against lefties, 16.2%. Take the under on Christopher Sanchez, 4.5 strikeouts.
All right, well, if you guys, one of you are bringing in Fancy Donuts, I don't think
That's
the
not
Fancy
happening.
Donut place is open very early. We're in
I
here
don't-
like 6 a.m. on
Yeah,
the weekend.
6
so
a.m. drive,
Put
no
the
Fancy
order in
Donuts.
tonight. Okay, the one that has Keno is open as well.
I'll get you
If I can
protein
stop
bar.
and get donuts and play some Keno, now we're talking.
Drew just ripping through Keno while buying donuts at 5:30 in the morning.
Ripping a dart.
Call 1-800-KENO, Drew. We'll see everyone tomorrow.